Good morning, friends. Good morning. Good morning. Please take your seats. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. I must say, thank you. I am reminded of the occasion when Enda Kenny welcomed Vicente Fox, the then president of Mexico, to Ireland. And President Fox was explaining to Enda the meaning of the term mañana. And Enda said, we don't have a concept so urgent in Ireland. But well done to you for all being on time. We're most grateful to you. And welcome once again to the Round Room, this extraordinary edifice, this rotunda, which was built, I think, in the 1840s to welcome King George IV, and then less than 100 years later was the site of the first independent Irish Parliament. So if you're looking for a tapestry of Irish history, it's represented within these walls, and I think that's an interesting pretext or perspective to consider as we look to the future and the prospects for this, the best little country in the world, Enda, isn't that so? There you are. And on behalf of our Global Advisory Council, Alan Foy and I, welcome to the second Impact Ireland Convention. And wow, how the world has turned since we met here a year ago. You know, we now have a world riven by tension and stress and suspicion, etc., etc. And one would be forgiven for thinking that impact investing is on the retreat. But, ignore the headlines and look at the trend lines. And the trend lines are incredibly positive. We were discussing this with the Global Advisory Council yesterday. A record $2.2 trillion is going to be invested in renewable energy this year, an all-time high. The biggest growth area in energy in the United States is going to be the renewable sector. 48 out of 50 of the largest asset managers in the world now determine investment decisions on many factors, but including the carbon performance of companies. And here's an interesting thing. In 2014, the number of companies reporting on their carbon performance was 4,000. In 2019, it was 8,000. Today, it's 24,000. And the assets under management in our sector in impact investing, when we met last year, was just over $1 trillion. It's now reached $1.6 trillion. So this is not a sector in retreat. On the contrary, it's a sector on the march. And what has also continued unabated is the commitment of our Global Advisory Council. We have 60 members of our council from across the world, extraordinary group of people, all investors in one of our 3 impact investing funds, who all are absolutely committed to the principles of impact investing, effectively conscientious capitalism, that one can do well by doing good. One can achieve a very handsome return on one's investment and also benefit society. And in our case, benefit Irish society as well, because our investment strategy is Ireland-centric, and that is because simply we believe this is the best place on the planet to grow and scale a business. And also, what has not changed, in fact, what has advanced extraordinarily, is the commitment of Bank of America. Bank of America are and remain in the lead in terms of sustainability on a global basis. They only just announced that they've reached the midpoint in their commitment to $1.5 trillion commitment to sustainable causes around the world. $750 billion of that has been deployed, and they're on track to reach that eye-watering target by 2030. And today is all part of that. We are immensely proud of the fact that Bank of America are anchor investors in one of our funds, and that they are supporting today's events and events around that. And their commitment to Impact Ireland is also a motif for their commitment to Ireland. They're 50 years in this country. They've been remarkable corporate citizens. You see their mark everywhere, from the Manana Heron Fund, Music Generation. Rosalie Malloy is here. As school kids, we all went to see the marriage of Strongbow and Aoife in the National Gallery. That has been restored thanks to Bank of America. And only recently they announced a commitment to a new base in Northern Ireland. Garrett Curran is here on behalf of Queen's University, are also investors in our fund, and the creation of 1,000 jobs in Northern Ireland. And as we all know, that is all part of delivering a peace dividend to support the peace process. So they are extraordinarily focused, extraordinarily committed to impact investing and to Ireland. And we are delighted that Paul D'Onofrio was here, who's taken a huge personal interest in all that we're doing, and Fernando and Anthony Jensic, the incoming CEO of Bank of America Europe. So it's all about impact investing. It's all about Ireland. And my God, what better cheerleader, what greater emblem, what greater motivator for Ireland. But as I've said it over and over, our turbocharged Taoiseach, will you please welcome our chairman, Enda Kenny.
Good morning. It would be very wrong of me to say any few words here without referring to this building. You see, for a country that was colonized for 700 years, there were revolution after revolution after revolution. In the late 1800s, there was a lot of agitation about land ownership, about tenancy rights and all of that. And it led to conflagration in the Commons when people who were elected from this country directly to serve as MPs began to raise the national question. After the Great War started, the case was made that if the Irish joined the British Army, that if the Allies won the war, that home rule would be given to the country. And that applied from 1914. In 1916, a rising took place here in Dublin, which was a small rising and not that greatly organized, but it was absolutely central to massive change. It probably might have gone unnoticed by a lot of the world, except that all the leaders were executed. And that turned the entire Irish population against the British government. And then you had a war of independence. And in 1919, the first provisional government sat in this room here. Many of the members who were elected in that election were in prison. And that followed on through negotiations with Gladstone and the British government, the treaty that was brought about in 1922, and a civil war that followed that. The legacy of that civil war was felt in Irish politics for very many years afterwards. Indeed, when I was elected myself back in 1975, the remnants of that were still very heavily felt in places around Ireland, either for the treaty or against the treaty. And both major parties actually grew out of that original single party and became the Fine Gael party and the Fianna Fáil party. And yet, through the different crises that hit this country afterwards and in the last 40 years, we have demonstrated as a people, and with stability at government level, of bipartisan cooperation in the interests of the nation and the objectives that people have had to put together. So in that sense, this is a very historic building with a very historic story to tell. And it's more than fitting that people like you from the convention should be here today to talk about the future and the changes that are coming. So in that sense, it would also be remiss of me if I failed to refer to the news that came around the world this morning of at least a partial agreement to end the madness in Gaza. And, thanks has to go to all of those involved, be it America, Turkey, Egypt, Qatar, Israel itself, and so on. And we hope that this brings about a solution that can lead to a permanent peace, maybe followed later by Ukraine and Russia. But I'm always cognizant of history. We do not have a book in the future to tell us what to do. We only have the book of the past from which to judge and draw conclusions. And Robert Graves was an English poet. And in 1918, he was walking in the hills in Wales, recovering from a shrapnel wound to his forehead. when he heard the news of the armistice. And he wrote a poem about Armistice Day. And one verse of it always stuck in my mind, and it's this: when the days of rejoicing are over, when the flags are stowed safely away, they will think of another wild war to end wars and another wild Armistice Day. I hope that's not the case in this case, and that peace descends on those shattered families in both countries as a result of the madness that was afflicted there. Now, I want to say, Kieran, that I was very much taken by the presentations yesterday. This is the new Ireland, and what you and Alan have done with Venturewave and Impact Ireland is quite extraordinary. And I have no doubt, without listening to the presentations that were made yesterday, that a number of these companies are literally going to explode in the time ahead because of the initiative taken, the imagination, the creativity, the hard work. And I want to say, in respect of Bank of America, I said this to Paul earlier on, when we were in the economic cesspit 15 years ago, President Clinton organized an economic conference in New York, at which I attended. And the chief executive of Bank of America, Brian, said to me in Manhattan, you know, what has happened to your country? I said, what do you mean? He said, well, your reputation is in shreds and your integrity is in tatters. And I said to him, well, you know, Brian, what would you do if you were in my shoes? And he said, the first thing you do is show them you are serious. Show them you are serious. If you make a decision as the chief executive of a company, it affects the workers and their families and the staff and all those connections. Make a decision as leader of a country, it affects millions of people. And so, unlike many occasions in the past, rather than sweeping the social dilemmas under the carpet and sweeping aside the economic difficulties and the debt situation that this country was in, and we decided to fix this with the consent and the support and the cooperation of the people. We left the Troika bailout on the 13th of December 2013. I remember ringing Christine Lagarde in Washington to tell her that. The following morning, I will never forget this, when Ireland left the Troika bailout program, where we were practically junk status before that, you could see the pride in people's faces on the streets, because they were saying that irrespective of the situation that we were in, we were at least in charge of our own destiny from that moment on, in that the Bundestag did not have to see the Irish budget and approve it before we saw it ourselves. And for me, that thanks goes to the people who accepted that. And I want to say to you, Paul, that Bank of America's investment in Impact Ireland and Venturewave has been a signal of momentous proportions, because you have brought integrity and strength and seriousness to an issue here where we as a small country can make a massive impact on the international and global stage. So thank you for coming and taking the time to come to Ireland here. The figures that were shown from the companies that are under scrutiny have been extraordinary. I've told the story of Alan Foy's company on so many occasions. In 2011 or 12, we launched it around the corner here in the Shelbourne Hotel with 6 jobs, and it became a national story because there were no jobs being created in this country. Unemployment among young people was 29%. Inflation and interest rates high up in the double digits. No hope, no aspiration, ghost estates, mass migration, immigration, and closing down of businesses all over the country. Now it's different. And at least we have demonstrated that, again, the Irish can focus with objectivity on the targets of government in the interests of the people. And that's why Venturewave and Impact Ireland are so exciting and creating a wonderful challenge up ahead. And there are young minds out there who are going to make a big impact on that in the time ahead. Be open, be serious, listen to them, and move ahead of the times if you can. So thank you. Great to see you all here in the round room in the Mansion House, from Singapore, from Asia, from the United States, from Europe and everywhere else. And always remember that whatever way we look at ourselves, we never take ourselves too seriously until catastrophe strikes. and then you'll never find a better country to cooperate in the interests of sorting it out. So you're playing your part, the flags are rising, the spirit is rising, the opportunity is presenting itself, and we have a potential massive young workforce that will help us lead the world with your support. Bless you all, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Edna, for those kind words about Bank of America, and Karen, thank you very much. It's always a little fearful when they tell you, we'd like you to say a few remarks and you'll be following Edna in your remarks. A tremendous orator. But good morning, everybody. It's really wonderful to be here, and thank you all for coming. I'm Paul D'Onofrio, and I'm the Vice Chair of Bank of America. I'm also the Chair of Bank of America Europe. And among other roles at Bank of America, I oversee our sustainability progress, and I co-chair our Responsible Growth Council, which ensures that the purpose of Bank of America is really foundational to everything that we do. And as a member of the Global Advisory Council of Impact Ireland, it's a pleasure to officially welcome you to the second Impact Ireland Convention, an event that Bank of America is very proud to support. Let me start by thanking Karen and the Venturewave Capital team for bringing us all together. Organizing an event of this scale doesn't just happen, and especially building on the success of last year's inaugural event. It takes positive thinking, great passion, judgment, and persistence, all of which, especially positive thinking, all of which Karen and his team have in abundance. I'd also like to add a special thanks to our speakers, many of whom traveled far to be here. Your insights and experience are really what make this convention so impactful. And then, of course, I'd like to thank my Bank of America teammates for helping to make this convention a reality. Now, as I said, Bank of America is a purpose-led company. In every market in which we operate, we strive to make financial lives better, and that commitment runs especially true here in Ireland, where we have operated for close to 60 years now. Today we employ about 1,000 teammates here in Ireland, and we're opening up an office in Northern Ireland. You may have seen that announcement recently. And our Irish subsidiary here in Dublin serves as the primary banking entity for the EU. As you all know, Ireland serves as an important transatlantic bridge between the US and Europe, and that unique position continues to create enormous opportunities for us all. At Bank of America, we are very proud to support Irish businesses, helping them grow here at home, helping them grow in the US, and indeed helping them grow all around the world. And being here also helps us serve our US clients, and our Brazilian clients, and our Japanese clients, and our Australian clients, and indeed all our clients all around the world that seek to do business in Ireland and across the EU. Our economists expect the Irish economy to remain one of the fastest growing economies in the EU, and we are proud at Bank of America to play our role in that growth. And we do this by helping our clients achieve their business goals, and by investing in local communities and strategic partnerships and philanthropy here in Ireland. Perhaps one of the best examples of that is the work we do with Rethink Ireland. Together with the Irish government and Rethink, we launched the Women of Ireland Fund to support economic mobility for women. Over the past 7 years, we've partnered with Rethink to help over 1,000 women secure sustainable employment through the fund, and more recently, we've expanded our support through a new empowerment fund, which aims to help 800 more women find jobs, skills, and training. We are also a long-standing supporter of the arts all around the world, and especially here in Ireland, partnering with institutions like the National Gallery of Ireland, the Irish Museum of Modern Art, and Trinity College. And in March, we participated in an event at the Dublin American Chamber of Commerce in partnership with Philanthropy Ireland, which included more than 30 business leaders, CSR professionals, and philanthropic leaders. And that really showcased further the deep philanthropic investment that we have in Ireland. Also, I think our support for this convention and our partnership with Venturewave Capital reflects our deep commitment to Ireland. As Edna said, we were a founding investor in Venturewave's Impact Ireland USA Fund, and this year we almost doubled that investment in the fund. Not in terms of the returns, although the returns are doing great, we doubled the amount of capital we have put into the fund. This fund, by the way, is really a great example of how the private sector, in partnership with others, can scale being the key word here, can scale solutions to global challenges from climate change and inequality to misinformation and political instability. And it shows that businesses can deliver both positive social impact and achieve strong financial returns for investors. And that combination really is essential to scaling solutions, especially as public sector resources face growing demand. So thank you again for being here today. I hope you all leave the conference with some new ideas, some meaningful connections, and a deeper appreciation for how innovation and entrepreneurship can position Ireland as a leader in impact investing. Thank you again, and with that, I'll turn it back over to Karen.
Well, I must say, those words are ringing in my ears. What a wonderful advertisement for Impact Ireland. And in case anything goes down here from now, I'd like to formally close the Impact Ireland Convention. Thank you. Have a nice day. No, Paul, thank you so much for extraordinary support corporately and personally. You've been a real champion of what we do, of impact investing and of Ireland. So now, to get underway, I'm going to hand over to one of the finest inquisitors, chroniclers, relayers of Irish life, a broadcaster, a writer, an author, and fun fact, a woman whose passion in life is lighthouses, I only learned the other day. So try and sit with her at lunch, because the small talk will be absolutely fascinating. Will you please welcome our MC for today, Derval MacDonald.